Okay, the string token's working. Cool. What is that oscillating noise? That's really annoying. Some audio. I might lose connection doing this, but I think I'll be fine. What is that? Okay, that was my desktop audio. I don't know what that feedback was coming from. That's strange. Oh. I lied. Test. Okay. All right, so it's working fine. Cool. All right, can I be heard? Can someone say in the stream chat if that's loud enough, or if I have to adjust the audio levels? I think I can hear fine. That's probably all right. All right, I'm just gonna get a little more cleaned up and wait for some more people to stop by, and then we'll get going. So let's do this. Maybe I should say this. Oops. Starting soon. Alright, I'm gonna get going then. Okay, so let's go here. And we're in Kali Linux now. I'm gonna make this terminal quite a bit bigger so you guys can see alright. So if I okay. So is that big enough? That's probably ample sized. Let's get it centered. Cool. All right. So I decided right now first we're gonna do one of the Hack the Box machines called curl. So if we go to hackthebox.eu, so let's just Google Hack the Box. This is the penetration testing labs Hack the Box website. I'm gonna have to log in. I don't think I have to log in on this virtual machine. Actually, I can do this. Never mind, it's fine. Oops. Oh, it's saved. Okay, awesome. So there's a number of machines on here. If we look, there's 177. Some are new ones, some are old retired ones. They're just a bunch of virtual machines that you can get network connections to hack into, which is very cool. Here, one second. I'm hearing myself, and that's driving me crazy, so I'm going to do this. Okay. So yeah, like I said, there's a bunch of virtual machines. You're given the task of, with just knowing the IP address of each one. Here we see the IP addresses. Just with this information to get root administrator access to it. So if we look through the retired ones, there's a great number of them, and the one we wanted to do was called curling. I'm just going to Control F for it. Curling right here, yeah. With the IP address 10.10.10.150. So the first thing we can do is try to just make a connection to this, right? So the common tool is called ping. So if we ping google.com, we'll just send what's called an ICMP packet, but essentially just small amount of data, 64 bytes to the server we've requested, and it'll speak back to us if it wants to. So we shoot out 64 bytes to Google here. This is its IP address, and it responds back to us within 43 milliseconds. We can do the same thing with not putting in the URL, just putting in the plain IP address. So if we put in 217.9.78, Google's IP address, it's kind of the same thing. And now we can actually do this for this machine. So the address was 10.10.10.150. And we see that's up and working. So one of the first things to do once you know you have a connection to a machine is to run some reconnaissance. So a popular tool for this is called Nmap. It's called network map. So if we nmap.h, maybe we can pipe this into less. We can see, yeah, it's Nmap. The website's nmap.org. You can see all sorts of information about it. And this is kind of some vomit on the screen right now because there's so many different things you can do with this tool. But essentially, there's a huge number of things to do, and you can just throw this tool at an IP address and it'll spit out information it collects on it. It's sort of doing the similar stuff to how we pinged that machine, but in a scripted and much more broad way. So it runs a number of different connection tools against an address to see how it's responding, what it's responding to, and gathering however much information it can. So we're going to run nmap with s-sc, the option. This means the saved scripts. There's, by default, nmap comes with some scripts to do all sorts of automated testing. So this is sufficient for most things. And the SV flag, which enumerates versions, this means that if it finds a service on this machine, the 10.10.10.150, then it'll try to find the version number of it. This is very important if you're looking for vulnerabilities in common services. If we have the version number, we can resort to some databases and find out if there's any glaring vulnerabilities in that service. So now we've got our flags in, and we can just put our IP address. Often what you'll want to do is put another flag, I missed a period, another flag for the output. I guess you can do -O, and there's different ways you can output the results of this command. But if we just put no flags, it'll tell us right in the console, and that should be fine, unless you're running a huge scan against either multiple machines, which you can do, or against a lot of specialized services. You don't really need to, so we're just going to run it in the console, and we've already gotten the results back. So there's not too much. As you can see, there's a dozen and a half lines, so we can look through it right here. This is just the boilerplate at the front. It found almost 1,000 ports that were closed and 2 that were open. So you might think right now it seems we've scanned 1,000 ports. That by default, the scripts that we were using, it only scans 1,000 well-known ports. There's in the port range, there's 65,000 plus ports, but opt-in services only use a small number of them. If there's some kind of discrete hidden service running on some obscure port, sometimes you want to actually enumerate all ports, in which case you can nmap. I could do -P 0 through 65565 and do all the ports. But again, we've got our hits from just doing 1,000 of them, so that's fine. Nmap can be very slow when you do a lot of things. So we see SSH is open. SSH is a very popular service that allows you to make remote connections to servers. there's not really any vulnerabilities in it. OpenSSH is very well maintained, and especially for something like Hack the Box, where these are machines that are fabricated to have ways in, there's not really any good OpenSSH exploits, so we can kind of ignore this for now. But what we do see open is port 80 for TCP, HTTP, Apache. Apache is a web server. It will run a web server on port 80, which is, the HTTP port. So if we actually go into our web browser and just navigate with our web browser to this IP, we should get a website. By default, we could put in port 80 here, but it's implied that it's already port 80 because that's what the HTTP protocol uses. So what this browser is doing, if you look at the network connections, is actually connecting to that address at port 80. And we have a website called the Cool Curling site. So I guess we see why it's called, the box is called curling. And we see, it just looks like some blog stuff. Nothing too interesting. There's a login form. We could try like the admin and just password maybe. Sometimes these things are misconfigured. If it's, a blog that was just set up out of, some default setting, then, the password very well could just be admin password, but it seems that they were more clever here. So we're going to have to try something else. A thing that jumps out to me that you wouldn't initially notice is, it says playing Minecraft. Oh my god, why did that? That's hilarious. I changed it in OBS to have the correct stuff. I guess that didn't transfer. That's strange. Well, let's update this real quick. If anyone's wondering what I'm talking about right now, it's I guess you can see it, but the description and the title of this stream is all messed up. That's kind of frustrating. I'll complain to OBS about that. And this is Hack the Box. And let's do, for tags, let's just do hacking. That's cool. All right, that should be cool. So I was saying the thing that jumps out to me is Cool Curling site, specifically spelled C-E-W-L. Cool, C-E-W-L, is a known tool for penetration testing, and I think it's actually installed on this machine. Yeah, so what Cool does, it's kind of weird to pronounce, is it spiders websites and creates word lists from them. So it'll essentially, it's an automated tool that'll go to this website and it'll take every single ASCII word that it sees and compile a list out of it. So I can start running it now as I explain. Let's find the usage. I think I can just type in, okay, so I want to go to depth1 /d1, and I can just put directly in the IP. That should be fine. And we'll run this in the background. Oh, that was a lot quicker than I thought it would be. So yeah, essentially what this tool will do is find every single word and put it in a big list. The reason this is a penetration testing tool is often passwords aren't secure. You don't find most people create passwords that are random strings of characters. Often it'll be, their dog's name, or maybe what they like to do on a Sunday afternoon, stuff like this. And if you have a website that specifically like a blog or somewhere where they're describing in some capacity the people who use this website, often you'll be able to craft passwords with combinations of these words and numbers and exclamation marks and stuff. So this Cool tool is useful for a number of things, mainly dictionary attacks, which is what it's called when you create a dictionary of words and try to brute force passwords based on that dictionary. Yeah, but here, yeah, it looks like, since it's telling us, this is a manufactured box, like I said, so this is probably a hint for us to use some brute force attack. So maybe the password is some combination of these words. And I should have output this to a file. I guess I could copy and paste all this now. But yeah, keeping all this in the terminal is not very wieldy, especially for using this. Oh, there we go. With other tools, so we can just go in V, and this is the first time I've used V. This is a new install. Oh, Control-Shift-V, and right quit. I didn't launch it with the file. So let's do cool out. And now I can insert v and break. Okay. So now if we less cool dot out, we can kind of look through this more easily. So we see the words that we already saw. So the curling site, u and for here print. See some other interesting stuff. I mean, feet ice. These are some good strings. Okay. So in here we see secret and txt next to each other. So I don't know where'd they get this from. Can we control F for secret? No. So this might be hidden in the HTML source, a secret.txt, which is interesting. So let's do this. This might be this actually might be very small for you guys right now, isn't it? Well, hopefully you can see. What I'm doing right now is I'm searching through the HTML for secret. And we found what appears to be just a HTML comment that says secret.txt. So that might be an indicator that a file called secret.txt exists, right? So let's give that a shot. So let's just navigate to this website /secret.txt. And sometimes it's that easy. So it looks like we got some sort of secret, some little blob of data. So I'm going to copy this. Is this V still? What is this? Oh, this is less. And let's do another text file, and this time let's just call this blob. So let's look at this. What kind of data is this? I'm gonna write this, and let's cat out blob. So we've got a bunch of characters. And what jumps out to me is, okay, if we look at this, it's divisible by 4. Okay, we see 16 characters. And the way it looks with just, uppercase, lowercase letters and numbers, this kind of looks like base 64 encoded data. So often, so the way base 64 encoding works is essentially bytes are broken up into groups of 4 and put back together in a somewhat haphazard way, but it turns out that the only way to get a valid base 64 encoded string is for it to be some multiple of 4 ASCII characters. So often you'll see equals at the end of base 64 strings to pad up to those extra, those extra 1 to 3 bytes you need. But here we don't see any, it's just perfectly divisible 4. So let's just see if we can base 64 decode this. So we can cat the blob and pipe this into base 64-D. This is the decode flag. And we get some text. Curling 2018 exclamation mark. That is definitely a password, right? I'm sure that's very similar to at least one person's password who's watching this right now. I mean, I've certainly used similar passwords in the past, but not anymore. So we have what seems to be a password, right? That's good. But we didn't actually have to use the word list for this. So that's interesting. I guess before we move on, let's pipe this into another file. So let's call this password ? That's a wonderful name for a file. Okay, so now that's just saved for later, and we can continue looking around the website. So let's go back to the front. So we have what we think is a password, but we don't really know a username. So we could try admin, what was it, capital C, curling 2018 exclamation mark. That did not match. Was that? Yeah, it was a capital C. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Interesting. Okay, so the word dictionary, the word list attack, probably is how we get the username, right? So if let's look back through this. All right, I'm going way back. Where were we? Yeah, let's cool out. So I mean, I don't really see anything that could be. Okay, I see. Yeah, I don't really see anything that kind of looks like it would be a username. And I hope we don't have to add numbers because that gets very computationally intensive very quickly. footer, secret, good question, jargon. That could be a username. Maybe not. Pebble. Grind. Does anyone see anything that I'm missing? Maybe not. Bowl. That could be one. Wine. So what we could do is send all of these and just brute force through all of these. I don't really want to look through this anymore. So yeah, let's try to do a brute force attack. So there's a few ways we can do this. First though, let's use burp and see what a request looks like. So burp is a proxy, like interceptor repeater tool that's great for penetration testing. But essentially what we can do with it is connect it to a browser. And in fact, in the newest update, it has a built-in browser. We can connect it to a browser and intercept as we make web requests and modify them in real time. So like if now we're in the browser for burp, if we go back to 10.10.10.150, this is going to intercept it. So let's turn intercept off for a second. Let it load. I'm going to close out of this. So let's make a login request. So let's do username in all caps, and let's type for the password just so we can recognize this easily. And let's turn the intercept on. So now any web requests we send will first, it's being proxied through this program burp and then sent out over our network adapter. So burp is going to intercept this request before it sends off through the network and allow us to modify it. So if we turn intercept on and hit login, burp immediately grabs this request, and we can see, can I zoom in here? Not very easily. I think, is that not big enough? I can make this bigger. Can I make this bigger? I don't see settings. This isn't the premium edition, so I might not even be able to. Configuration library, I don't think this is it. No. Well, I'm gonna assume that this is big enough. I think it is. So we see this is what the web request looks like. This is a post for index.php. We see the host, the content length, just the user agent, some other boilerplate stuff, and this cookie. And we see here the request we made was username equals our username, password equals our password, submit, option, task, and this other stuff. But now what we can do if we want to say, if we wanted to try curling 2018 exclamation mark with the username, let's do Bob, right? Then we could, now it's intercepted, we can fill out the username and password, and we can hit forward, and it'll send it. And the response we just got back, it does it instantly, so it's not like, it might not seem like anything happened, but yeah, it just snapped back to me, and we've already got a response. And it doesn't look like anything interesting happened. Yeah. So we got a response that told us to close the connection. So something went wrong. All right, we got our website back then. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we got it back. We must have missed it, and our username and password did not match. So let's intercept this request again. Are we okay? Yeah, we're good. So let's do this again, but this time we'll copy that request string. I have to drop a bunch to get it. Okay. This time let's capture our request string so that we can modify it and use it in a separate tool that's not burp. So we got to turn intercept off real quick. Let's do the username and fill in our password, and turn intercept back on, and then send this and copy this string. Copy as a curl command, copy to file. Let's just copy URL. I think that's what we want. So now if we v another file, so let's call this login post. We can insert this. I copied the URL. I needed to copy that string. There's so many different ways because you can copy in curl commands, copy to a file, and do all this stuff. I often miss that you can just do a normal copy down here. Yeah. So let's get rid of this and put what we wanted. Username equals username, password equals password. I guess to get ahead of this real quick, we can just modify the password field because we know what we want this to be. So this would be curling 2018 exclamation mark. Right, quit. And let's do wfuzz. Right, I think this is the tool. Yeah, web fuzzer. So this is a tool you can give some payload and brute force based on some file, right? So if we give usage.text, password.text for this website, it'll just try all those combinations. So let's get the help because I have not used this tool much, and I'm going to need some help. Since I've made this text so big, this isn't very pretty. This should help. Okay, so we have recipe.v for verbose, .f to store the results in an output file, dry run field.p to proxy, specify the number of connections, -u for the URL, -z for the payload. Okay, -b for cookies, -x for the method. Okay. Let's go back up to the top again. Because I might not even have to use options aside from the... Right, so options first, -c payload, then the parameters, and the URL. Okay. So I'm not sure if the payload is the string that we were talking about, or it's the file that we're using as the word list -w. That's what we want. Specify our word list, alias for -c file word. Okay, so we'll do -w with our results from cool, and we'll do -z for that request string. Right? Yeah, let's try it. Okay, so wfuzz, it was I forget already. -w cool out, -z was still in the clipboard. And format user pass or fuzz. Oh no, that's something else. So I think if we make this all caps fuzz, it'll automatically figure out that the parameter in the string should be changed. Oh, okay. Wherever you put these keywords, wfuzz will replace them with values. So it was at the top. I was just missing it. Okay, so we want to replace the usernames, and we know the password is static. So let's do username equals fuzz, and password equals curling, capital C, 2018, exclamation mark. Cool. Does it really not need any special characters before the fuzz? It's just gonna work. fuzz or fuzz NZ, I guess, if fuzz is just in that request string. All right, let's see what happens. Oh, I need to put the control E and 10.10.10.150. What happened there? Wait, huh? Okay, let's try that again. Is there a special character I'm missing here? You know what? So what and that's funny. So this has to be in quotations, right? The and is a special bash character. Control Shift V. I don't want to send it. Oh no. So what and will do is just run something simultaneously. It'll just start another job. So what we did here was, when it saw an and, it just tried to take the next. I'm not sure which and. I messed it up, but one of the ands afterwards was an invalid command. So let's do this and -C. This has to be in these. Okay. Requested plugin username. Did we use the wrong flag? -C. Yeah, I guess I probably should have played around with this tool. Yeah, I guess. Okay, so that's really annoying. Let's just list out those words again and see if we missed anything. OS, because I really don't want to just troubleshoot a tool for 30 minutes. So we already got this pretty much this far. Slowly players mining. Okay, so Florus, this isn't just a word, that's a name. So that might be a username. Yeah, okay, so let's just try Florus. Let's see if that works. So we have a username we suspect, and we have a password. Let's see what happens. So we can get rid of the Chromium, that's what Burp was using, and we can go back into Firefox. Go back to this guy and do Florus. I think it had a capital F. And password was curling 2018. The username is probably not case sensitive anyway. Okay, that seems to have worked. Cool, okay. So what can we do here? We're super user. Edit module. Okay, so we do have some sort of administrative privileges. We can edit this stuff. I want to know what the content delivery system this was. So we actually probably missed this with Nmap earlier. I don't know how closely I looked at it. Behind Apache, there will be different content delivery systems that'll let administrators access and control the contents. So here it looks like, yep, Joomla is their content management platform. Joomla. So I think Joomla. So I think their administrator panel is /administrator /admin administrator. Perfect. Okay, and it looks like it's copied our cookie from previous. And okay, we're at the administrator control panel. So we're not in yet. We're at an outward-facing web interface. Not quite, root on the system. We're actually not even, a user on the system. We're the www data user. So this isn't as far enough. We want to go further. So what can we do here? So Joomla. Okay, so we see we're using PHP. PHP is a popular scripting language that websites use all the time, but we can use it often if we have access to run PHP commands. We can use it if we have access to create PHP files, then we can run PHP commands. There's a system call in PHP that allows you to execute system calls with PHP strings. So this should be good. We want to create a new PHP file. Content, components, templates. Okay, so let's check out our templates. Okay. All right. All right. All right. So okay. So we see here we have a number of templates, and let's just see if we can create one. Do we have a new file? Okay. So let's call it. Don't mind me, and make it a PHP file. That way the administrators won't take any notice of it and it'll be fine. So now we can just create a PHP file. So let's get access with our terminal inside the system by creating a reverse shell. So if we look up PHP reverse shell, we can find, okay, on GitHub, there's a reverse shell here. There's actually, I should show this website, Pen Test Monkey. Has a bunch of reverse shells. I guess reverse shell sheet. This is a very popular resource for, let's see, details, pentestmonkey.net. That's funny. I wonder if that was like crawled and detected because there's the source code on the website. This is a well-known website. That's funny. Okay, so can we just bypass this anyway? Oh, come on, Google. Ignore the risk. Yeah, okay. That's really funny. I wonder how long that's been like that. And that's also probably why it wasn't the first result. Interesting. We should tell somebody about this. So here's a number of just reverse shells that you can do. So, with Perl, this command will create a reverse shell on port 10001, I guess at the IP, the address there, and the port here. You can do this in Bash, you can do it in Python, PHP, Ruby, Netcat. We're obviously interested in PHP. We already have this one up, so let's just copy and paste all this and see if it works. So I haven't had any questions yet. If anybody has a question, you can feel free to ask in just the text, or also I can listen in on the voice, one of the UMass Discord voice channels, if you really want to ask a question but you don't know how to articulate it into text very easily. So just shoot a message if you want me to hop into the voice chat. I'm not sure if I'm moving too fast or just the right speed or too slow. So let's go on pasting this. It looks like this will work. And here we have to obviously change our IP and port. So how the reverse shell will work is you'll make a connection from the remote machine back into your machine. This is very useful, especially for bypassing firewalls, since you can initiate this command facing outward. You don't have to actually be on your machine and create what's called a bind shell by connecting directly to that machine from the outside, if that makes any sense. So what we're going to do with this PHP file is create a program running on the machine that'll reach out and talk to our computer over the internet. So we're going to need to tell them what our computer is called. To do this, we got to ifconfig to find out our IP address. Again, I don't know why ifconfig's not in my path. This is a new Kali Linux box I just set up today, but it's in sbin, so I can just directly call the file. inet 10014. This is the address that we want. So if we go back to templates, 10. I already forgot it. 0.14. Is that it? Yeah. Okay. And port we can kind of choose arbitrarily, as long as it's, you usually want to pick ports above 1,000, maybe even higher, just to stay out of the well-known port range. I usually go for like 10.10.1. This is, I don't know, whatever, it's convenient to remember. And yeah, this should be fine. So let's save this. Okay, and we've saved this as, what did I call it? Don't mind me.php. So now what we can do on our local machine, we're going to start a listener. So when this reverse shell makes the connection to our computer, it's going to reach out. But we're going to need to be listening for that initial reach out, or else it's going to miss us, per se. So what we're going to start is using Netcat, what's called a listener, NLVP. So the L for the listener, the V for verbose, P for the port that we're going to input. It was 10.10.1. and this will start listening on this port until it receives a connection. So we won't miss that initial hello from our reverse shell. So we've saved this. All we have to do to execute PHP is navigate to this file. When a web server loads this file, loads a PHP file, it executes. So immediately upon, when we navigated to 10.10.10.150/index.php, there's a PHP script that executes called index.php. If we go here, we can find the script. It does some normal stuff, setting up columns. This looks like it's actually just creating the website. So it actually just creates on demand the blog website. So it runs all of this stuff every time you navigate to index.php. So when we navigate to don'tmindme.php, what it's going to execute is our reverse shell, and that's going to allow us to talk directly inside of it. So instead of going to index.php, let's go to, this should save in templates. Templates / what do we call it? Don'tmindme.php. Does not exist. Oh, right. Okay, so this is also in Bees 3. So we're going to have to go templates. It's a subfolder called Bees 3. Bees 3 / don'tmindme.php. And we see it's loading. So this tells us something probably happened. And if we go back and look at our shell, hopefully we'll have something. Oh, did I put in the wrong port? That's not working. Yeah, so you can see it executing. It could just be an error with the script that we copied. This could be no good. I put the right port. 10.0.1.4. Did I get the wrong IP address? Oh, you know what? That's the wrong IP address. Okay, cool. So so I took my Ethernet 0 adapter. That's just the IP address of my Ethernet connection to my host machine. But inside of this virtual machine, I'm tunneled into the Hack the Box network over a different IP address. So I actually have to do 10.10.14.7. So failed the daemon. Yeah, so we see it actually did execute what we wanted to. It just couldn't find the IP address it was looking for. So it waited and waited to make that connection and finally failed. So we have to change this to be the right IP address. So it was 10.10.47. Keep forgetting already. 14.7. And now, knock on wood, this should work. So if we go back, we got to cancel. Let's cancel that listener and just start a new one. And save this and just reload this PHP file. And instantly, if we see, we get access. So we can run Linux commands, ls. We see we're listing out some directory. We see our user is www-data, so we are the web server, essentially. But also this is a very crude terminal. As you can see, I can't really use, that's my up arrow, this is my left arrow. I can't use tab completions. So just really quick, I'm gonna fix that. So do we have Python on this machine? Do we have which Python 3? This isn't absolutely necessary. What I'm doing here is essentially just to make my life more convenient, so that I can use normal quality of life terminal tricks to move around the machine without having to kind of painfully retype things if I make a mistake and so on. So we can start a PTY session, and if we go back to our host, we can stty raw-echo, and we're going to foreground this and enter, and now we can go up, and we can, if we cd bin, we can tab complete. Wonderful. Okay, so that's working just fine. So now we're just on the machine, and we need to find some way to elevate our privileges from this www data to the root user. So this is, you can think of this as equivalent of if on your own laptop you had an admin, assuming it's Windows 7 or Windows 10, you had an admin account and you had like a personal account that was separate. That would be with access to your personal account somehow being able to, execute things as an administrator. This is a huge thing in security that often is the killing blow to a lot of systems, allowing privilege escalation like this. So it's great things to learn. And we'll have to figure out how exactly to do this. So we know that there is probably that user Flores, right? Yeah. Well, I'm assuming there's user Flores because it seems to be the administrator. So if we go to home, Flores. Okay, yeah. So we see Flores' stuff. We can kind of look at it. There's a user.txt that we're denied permission from. So the way Hack the Box works is often machines will have either one or two users. They'll have a normal user and they'll have a super user, the root user. And for each of these users, there'll be a text file that's only readable if you have the permissions of said user. So I can only read this user.txt file if I'm logged in as Flores. This is a way. This text file contains, it's a SHA-256 hash. I think it's some hash, but it's essentially a token that allows me to verify that I've broken into this machine. And I can go back to the Hack the Box websites and click submit flag, and I can just put this hash in here, and it'll say, okay, yeah, you broke into this machine successfully. So the object is to get user.txt and root.txt. But we see password backup, and if we list out the permissions, we can see, okay, so we have read access to password.backup. So let's cat that out, and it's a big hex dump. So this might be a little jarring to look at, kind of just a bunch of junk right now. It's a hex dump of a bunch of data. So this is the data here in the middle. On the left, we see the addresses. So starting at hex 000, this is the first byte, and so on. At hex 10, the next starts. Hex 20, the next starts, and so on. And on the right, we see the ASCII characters. So 42, this first byte, translates to a B in ASCII, an uppercase B, I should say. A 5A translates to a Z in ASCII. 68 is a lowercase h, and so on. And there are some dots that are just characters that can't be easily converted into ASCII. So now we have this. This is kind of an interesting looking file, but we want to do things with this. So there's a tool called XXD that allows you to either create hex dumps or reverse hex dumps. So in this case, we're going to reverse it. So we're going to reverse the password backup, and we're going to put this into, let's just call this history. Actually, let's just call it M, just so we don't have to type too much. So we can run XXD. So let's cat password backup. So you know what? I wasn't allowed. I couldn't. I'm like, what? Why didn't I have permission to do that? Because I can read this password backup. I can run XXD. The thing that I don't have access to, the reason this said permission denied, is because I cannot create files in this folder. So if we look at the folder we're in, we do not have write permissions here. So usually temp allows you to do certain write things. So I guess if we ls-la/tmp, we see that we actually have write access to this. This is a folder that's used by Linux to allow all sorts of applications to kind of just store temporary data. So they don't really care much about safe security or permissions. It's kind of just junk space. So let's XXD this into /temp/m. And that worked. And if we cat temp/m, we should see, gotta put the slash first. This is what the file looks like. instead of putting all the dot dot dots, Cat's trying to, or this terminal is trying to make a little better guess at what the characters would look like. There's just a higher range of characters it can display. So instead of just dots, it'll try to do different things like this. You can see like that mesh looking thing there, and the question marks and stuff. But still, this is the same data here, just we've removed the two translation layers. It's just the raw data. So now with this, we can run file on it. What file does is it analyzes a type of file and tells us what it thinks it is. So the convention for file types in Linux particularly is to have what's called magic bytes at the beginning of the file. So here we see BZ and ASCII, and followed by, I guess, H9. Usually it's, I think, 4 bytes is the standard. Sometimes it's longer. But we see this is what would look like the start of a file. This might be telling us it's some bzipped data, I think is what BZ is. But like, so I think Windows PE executables or like MZ, like PNGs start with literally PNG. There's all sorts of stuff. So with file, it'll kind of just read that and compare it to a stored dictionary of file types. So if we file/tmp/m, bzip to compressed data. Okay, so with bzip, we can unzip it with bzcat, I think. Yeah, bzcat. So if we bzcat/tmp/m, and we can redirect this to /tmp/m2. We can cat out m2, see if we got anything good. Oh, I have to remember I'm in a different working directory. Okay, so we've extracted this data. I should mention that bzip, it's similar. It's like, well, zip is probably a giveaway, but it's just a data compression algorithm. So it's like it was a zip file almost, right? And I've just unzipped it now. And we see even further inside this file, we see password, but it still looks like there's some sort of encoding going on. We're getting closer, it looks like, to something interesting. So let's do file again on it, /temp/m2. gzip data. So gzip is gunzip, g unzip, I think. Or zcat can work too, I think, to stay consistent with how we were doing it. /m2, and we'll redirect this into temp m3. Makes sense, right? And if we cat out /temp/m3, looks like more bzip data. Wonderful. But again, let's just run file on it just to check. So what it seems like it's going on here is this password backup was secured by just compressing it a number of times. Obviously not a secure way at all. This is, with no complexity at all, you can recover the original data. It's just a little bit annoying for us to have to step through it one at a time. There are quicker ways, but I'm just trying to explain it one step at a time. So where are we? M3 again. So if we bzip it again, bzcat /temp/m3 into /temp/m4. Cat m4. Oh. Again. Okay. Now we have what looks like plain text data. Well, this could still be... Oh, you know what this is? I think we extracted a file. This looks like file system stuff. Root ustar. Yeah. Okay. So file /temp/m4. So it looks like okay. It's a tar archive. I thought these were artifacts from a file system. It seems like they are, right? It's just the tar encoded version of it. So this is telling us that this is a tar archive with the file password.txt. There's its I'm not sure exactly what structure tar uses, but it's there, Hamming tree or whatever structure it is. And this is probably what the plain text data is, but let's just untar it anyway. So tar xf, I think is the extract. Yeah. It's been a minute. X temp-m5, m4. And let's extract it into temp. Yeah, so I forget what the tar extract is. Oop. It might be ZF. Z. Oh, no, that's GZIP. I guess I could also. Oh, yeah. XVF. Huh. So maybe it's because I need an out directory flag. Tar slash. I'm just gonna move to. So the reason I was kind of playing around with that is because my current working directory I couldn't write to. I'm just gonna move to temp so I can not worry about the output and just do this. It's okay. So now we have password.txt, and we can cat out password, and there we go. Yeah, this seems to be a password. And since this was on Floris's account, right? This was in Floris's home. This is probably her password, I'm guessing. So let's try to log in as her. So we can sue Floris. Is it lowercase? Yeah. Password Control-Shift-V. And we're Floris curling. So if we go back to her home, we can cat out that user.txt, and boom, this is the hash. Maybe, yeah. So this is the hash that I can use to get the Floris user. Wonderful. Okay, cool. Now we're Floris, but we are not root. We want to get root. Any questions? Again, I can stop if anyone has questions. We're getting closer to the end. I guess this is the hardest part, right? Getting the absolute administrator privileges on the machine. But hopefully it doesn't take too long from here. Wait a few seconds. So, yeah. So now a good way to, once you have user access on the machine. Oh, you know what? Actually, before I continue, we have the username and password to Floris right now. So we saw earlier from the Nmap scan that SSH is open. So instead of continuing in this terminal through this reverse shell, let's just open up an SSH. It'll be a better, more robust connection, and it'll allow us, I think we'll get pretty colors. So it might be easier for you guys to look at. So if we exit the session, that'll exit out of Floris's user, and we can exit again. Now we're back in just our local terminal, I think. Well, let's just Control-Z. Oh, yeah, I think I just botched that window, but that's fine. So let's SSH into Floris at 10.10.10.150, and we'll accept the fingerprint and input her password, and we're Floris. Okay, wonderful. Let's make this bigger. Control plus. I think that's fine. Look at that, we're green and blue. Admin area. Okay, so now we can, I didn't even give this any attention earlier. I guess we went straight to the password backup. But we have this admin area. We have input and report. So let's look at these. So input, we have URL equals the local host. All right. And if we cat report. Oh, this is a bunch of HTML. Let's less report, just so it doesn't jump all at us at once. Yeah, so this looks like it's just the website that we landed at, the blog website, and that makes sense. If it's true, if these two are connected, seeing input is this URL, the result of navigating to this URL and downloading the contents would just be this website, which is what is filled in the report. I'm not trying to hide it. I might have just done some magic. I tried to navigate to localhost, and then I typed in 10.10.10.150. The reason this is localhost is because obviously we're SSH'd into this box, and localhost to this box is this remote connection to us. So that's what's going on there. Okay, so it looks like something is running some program navigating to this URL and outputting it to report. So if we ls-la, we also see, okay, so these files are owned by root. To explain quickly the Linux file system view right here, we see first is a D or not a D, meaning if it's a directory or not. And then it goes user, super user, user, and then the group. User, group, everyone. So here we can, only the user can read, write, cannot execute. The group, anyone in the group can read, write, and not execute. And anybody can do nothing. So if you don't have either group or owner privileges, you can only, you can't do anything. But if you do have group or owner privileges, you can read and write, but you can't directly execute these files. And also here we see the first name is the owner and the second name is the group. And then we have the file size and the creation date. And okay, September 12th at 1:02 a.m. This is hosted in the European Union. I'm not sure which server actually, we might be on a US server. I guess where it's 9:02 here. Right, so I guess this is US. Yeah, that's probably, I don't know, what's offset 4 hours from here, right? Yep. I'm not sure what time zone this is, but the 02 there tells us that, okay, this file was just created. So I'm going to wait for this to turn to 9:03, and we'll see if these files change. But what it seems like is this computer is periodically updating these files. So this program that's creating these files, that is the program that finds the URL and input, localhost here, and creates this report, which is the contents of that URL, could be just running, every minute or so, or else it's just coincidence that it just ran now. I mean, it could very well run like once a day or once a year, but it seems like it's running each minute or something. Cron jobs, they're called cron jobs, but it's a program called cron that will run programs in periodic intervals. So you can set up certain things to run every hour. You can set up things to run every minute. You can set up things to run once a year. So there's something funky like that going on here. So okay, maybe the remote clock is a little off, but this has been updated, right? It's 1:05 now on this remote machine, but it has been updated, recreated. So this is happening quite often. So let's use a popular Linux recon tool called linenum. I think it's called linenum. Yeah, linenum.sh. So this, Control A, this will allow us to pretty much just do a general analysis of the machine to see what's going on. And this should show us any of those cron jobs I mentioned that are running. So let's V. I don't have access to write to this folder. So I'm going to cd back here, and that's vi linenum.sh and Control Shift V. That's a lot of text. Control. Oh, yep. Right quit. And let's just let's go back into that again. Do I have to? I think this is. Yeah, this is what I wanted. And let's just run this, right? First, let's see if we don't have to change permissions. Yes, we have to change mod and add execution to it. linenum.sh. And now we can execute it, so let's do this. And it's just going to run. And we can wait for this to run for a second. It's getting a whole bunch of stuff, most of which we can probably ignore. There's probably only 1 or 2 holes in this machine, since, again, it's manufactured and they've designed a way for us to break into it. So most of this stuff is probably useless, but we're going to first navigate to those cron jobs to see if there's anything going on there. Yeah, so I probably should have put this into less, because there's totally a lot going on. Oh. Yeah, in fact, so much that's going on, it's at the top of the terminal. So I'm going to have to rerun this, and we'll just output it to a file. That's funny. So let's just call it results, enum results. And let's run this. Again, any questions, anybody? Okay, we have our results. So if we less enum results, the colors aren't working, but that's fine. Let's go directly to cron. So we don't see actually too much going on. There could be some cron jobs that are hidden from us that we can't see. Yeah. So let's see if there's any other programs that are running. Because very well could not necessarily be a cron job. It could be some other way of regularly executing some stuff. So here are all the running processes. There's our shell from earlier. A whole bunch of stuff. Interesting files. Oh. Okay, so this didn't actually give us anything interesting, but we can go back to the admin area and see again if we can modify this input and try to change the flow of this program. So we can actually we're in the roots group, so we can write to both of these files. So we can't create arbitrary files in this directory, but we can write to this file. So I guess I overlooked that. But so let's change that input from, well, let's feed it first, input. Let's change this URL from HTTP. Let's change this to like, we can actually check out file system things. This will run as root, since it seems root is creating these files, right? So whatever we put here will run as root. We can't necessarily just put in arbitrary commands, but it seems that if this is something that's using URLs, we can put a local URL, so like a file system URL. So let's try to like do etc maybe host, or I guess password. This will tell us user information in the box, and see. Let's see if right quit. Files changed since so it updated since we started, but we can still write it. So let's see if it didn't change. Okay, so we did write it successfully. It must be changing every few seconds, honestly, because I wasn't editing it for more than a minute. I guess it could be coincidence that we were in it at the same time, but so let's wait for this to update again. I think it might have. Let's just see if report has changed. Maybe give it another second or so. Yeah, so hopefully it doesn't run every minute. Every 30 seconds would be much more convenient if we have to do this a bunch, because it'll just be wasting some time. But I think it'll be every minute or so. Let's cat it again. Oh, and it's worked. So it executed our read to this file, and it read it out to us. So it's told us all the users on this machine. So some program is running that's reading and writing these files. And I'm not sure exactly what it is yet. Is anyone confused about anything I just did, or the reason why this file changed? Does it make sense what's going on? Or is it an utter mystery? To sum it up quickly, what happened is there is a program that's running, and we changed what it ran. And since it's running as root, it's allowed to read this file. But now Passwood specifically is a file that is limited. So if we try to limit it in permissions, so not anybody can look at it. So if we try to cat it out, I guess it works for us. But we're also kind of a trusted user. But if we like ls-l etc password, it's owned by root, and it can be read. So it can be read by anyone, but still, regardless, we know that we're running as root since these files created are owned by root. So, I mean, what's going on here, right? So what we have is we have an input cat input. We had the localhost. Oh, it's overwritten it too. So we have localhost and this URL equals localhost. But I don't know exactly what type of program would kind of look like this. Oh, you know what? This is probably, if we look back at the lin enum, it's fairly way far up now. But one of the networking tools was curl, and I think curl allows you to do stuff like this where you specify that URL. Yeah. So I think what's running is curl. So with curl, is there any way that we can execute commands? We can use append to a target file. We can arbitrarily write, so that doesn't really help us much. Connect to cookie. Data URL encode. Oh, you know what? Is there like an output? Because if we can change the output of where it's writing. Create directories. Config file. What's a curl config format? Dash location user agent equals URL equals. Okay, so this looks like what we're doing. Okay, so we can set the user agent location. Curl config. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of penetration testing is reading documentation, right, and learning how to use. There's so many tools, and just learning how to use them. URL header -h. Oh, let's just try this. Let's use Google with the exact string output. -- output file name. So we won't be able to add directly add options to curl, since if this command is running regularly, it's hard coded. We can't change that. What we can change is what seems to be this config file. So let's try in this config file ls input, right? Well, so let's craft one first separately, so it doesn't get overwritten while we're writing it. So it's vi, we'll call it input, and it'll be URL. URL equals, and I think it would double quotes, and this will be http // and we'll put some URL here, and let's do output equals we can overwrite files. So I guess what we could do is the way the permissions works is, I'm sure if you've ever used Linux, what you've done is run a command as sudo. So I guess let's write this sudo and let's do etc password. I don't know if I still have the password on my clipboard, which is frustrating if it's not true. But yeah, I don't. I guess I don't really I do need it. Clipboard. I don't know if I have. Do I? Yeah, I do. Show full history. Clipboard is empty. I'm gonna have to find the password. Oh, actually, I'm freaking out, right? But it's still in temp. I'm gonna have to go back and get the password again because I didn't save it like an idiot. But it should. Hopefully, it hasn't been cleared out from temp. Oh, it has. ls/temp ls. Oh, geez, cd/temp, it's delayed. Yeah, so they actually did get overwritten. But that's fine. We can just password back up. cd back to our home directory, and let's cat out password backup. And let's try to do this in one command. So let's refresh xxd-r password backup, and we're going to pipe this into, it was bzip first, right? It was bzip, gunzip, bzip, tar, right? Okay. So bzcat, and we'll pipe it through zcat, and pipe it through bzcat, and pipe it through tar-xfv. -x fx xf xfc. I just did this. How did I forget already? This is funny. It's totally XF. Alright, well I guess maybe the pipes didn't work. So let's see what happens here. Yeah, that's strange. So let's just write this. Oh, it's right here anyway. Alright, we had it the whole time. I don't know what Tower is saying there. So let's get rid of this. Let's vi password so we don't lose it again. Write this out, right quit, ls, cat the password, and there we are. So let's copy this again, and let's try to sudo a command again. So sudo, standing for super user do, will allow us to run a command with super user privileges. So if we can be a super user, then we can, do anything that root can do. So we can get, root's password, which I guess is what we want to do, right? So let's sudo /etc/password, this password file contains hash passwords for the different accounts. So this is a read protected file. So we shouldn't be able to read this. And I want a cat. And put in our password. And Florus is not in the sudo. So if we cat /etc/ sudo ers. Okay, that permission is denied. If on my host machine, let's go back, Control Z, Control Shift C. I don't know why I can't background out of SSH, but let's just make a new tab and zoom in. So if we cat our own etc password, Control A, we're gonna have to sudo this and put in my password. We can see it's got, information. Sorry. I was mistaken. The password file does not contain the hash passwords. The shadow file contains hash passwords. Passwords just the users. Weird convention, but yeah. So still password can be write protected. It's the shadow file that wants to be read. But regardless, we found out that we're not in the sudoer file. If we look at our own sudoer file, this is kind of what it looks like, but here roots of sudoer, actually members of all groups can sudo, I guess. This is a fresh setup, but if we added Florus is the name. If we added Florus here, then they would get to sudo commands, and they can essentially do anything on the system. Right, so we want to create a file like this where it has vi sudoers. A file like this where it has Florus's name, and overwrite our etc name with it. So let's do. Let's leave root first, and let's put Florus, and then all equals all, and all. And now, if we're able to overwrite the sudoer file on this machine, then we'll have absolute control over it. And since this command is executing its root, and it looks like we can control what's going on, this doesn't seem to be a problem. So let's write this. Right, quit. ls. We can get rid of some stuff. So we have our sudoers written. And this is, I guess, to be explicit, right now the directory we're in is /home/florus/sudoers. Oh. Sudoers. So if we cat out this, it looks like this. So now if we go back to cd, let's vi input, we want the URL to be file.// and it'll be again /home. I literally just showed this to you guys. I don't know how I forgot. /florus/sudoers. So this will be the file we get with curl, and the output directory will be /etc/sudoers. And now we're gonna move input to /admin. Oh, what's it called? Admin area, right? Yeah. So we're gonna move. I guess you know what? I'm not gonna be able to move it because it's I don't have directory file create access, but I can just copy and paste it the old-fashioned way. So if we v input and insert and overwrite all this, right, quit. Hopefully, wait a minute, and we'll see if this works. So I guess we can ls la and just wait for this time to update. It actually might have 27 seems like the right time. I think it was 2 minutes ahead earlier, so it could have actually already written. So let's just see if we can sudo. So let's fc shadow and put in our password, which thankfully we have copied. I'm gonna have to get out of this command to do it though. So it's cat / password. Saved us a little bit of frustration. Let's sudo out this shadow file, which contains again the hashed passwords. No valid sudo or sources found. Okay, so I broke the sudo file. So it overrid it with something. Did I might have been malformed, right? I might have missed a line or something. So let's see what exactly cd /ls cat sudoers. So I don't see it. What really could have broken here, unless it's the file permissions being read, but I don't see if it's root. This shouldn't be a problem at all. Yeah, I mean this is a valid. Oh, you know what? Let's try this. BI sewers. So in the format for sewer files, we can have it not require a password. Actually, no, that wouldn't change anything. Yeah, this should be fine. Maybe it just needed another second. Syntax error near line 28. So line 28 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Is that the bottom then? You know what? This is what it is. This is some Debian stuff, and we're probably on Ubuntu or something. That's frustrating. Okay, little brain fart. I guess I was just copied blindly from my host system, just assuming it'd be in the same format. But these things are more nuanced than that. So let's cat out. What was it called? Sudoers. And copy this. Oh no, not sudoers. Input is what we want, because this will have been overwritten by now, and we want it to write this file one more time. ls cd admin area ls and the input insert. Let's delete all this junk and Control-Shift-V. Right quit. It's been changed. Let's overwrite it and wait for this to change. It will probably in a handful of seconds. Still not getting any questions from y'all, except for one person soliciting bigfollows.com. All right, did it change? I don't know. Let's just try. Actually, it doesn't look like it's written yet. So I guess we should just take this time to hang out and chat, right? Screw that. It's probably done by now. So let's sudo cat / actually, you know what we can do in the meanwhile? We can cat out the password again, because I need that back in my clipboard. I don't know why. So in a lot of Linux distributions, there'll be a clipboard that, yeah, okay, so it is doing it now. So a clipboard that tracks the history to some depth. So that would have been helpful if I started doing that earlier. I guess I had to start it manually. So now, let's see if these files were updated. It looks like they were. So input was changed to 32. So I think we caught that literally in the second while it was running, because it didn't update the report. I don't know what happened there. But let's just try sudo now. sudo cat /etc shadow, and we'll put in our password. And okay, so we have super user privileges, right? So in fact, we could even we could just cat out directly etc. Maybe it's home/root/user root.txt. Maybe it's etc. I want to see if we can just do this without actually suing into the root. But I guess we'll just have to sue. So we can run. So the command to change users is sue, right? So like we sued to Floris with the password earlier, and you can also sue to root. But when you do this, you'll have to enter root's password, right? And we don't know this, so that's a problem. But what we can do, it's funny. It's like on a meta level, we can super user do the change user command sue as root. So we're gonna kind of, with our super user privileges, we're gonna bypass the sue, and we'll just sue into dash. It just represents root. I guess if we sue without anything, it'll still do it too. But yeah, since we put in the password already for that cat shadow command, we didn't have to put in the password again. But if this was the first command we sudoed, we would have just had to put in the password then. It doesn't really make a difference. But as you can see, we are now root at curling, and I don't know where the root.txt is. I guess I can go to my home directory. There isn't a root. I guess I could find actually, it's got to be an etc, right? I don't know. What would be a good guess? c/root.txt. I don't know. I can just use the cd and the tildes to go to my home directory. I don't know why it's not on the file system. Okay, yeah, so I should have just done that in the first place. We can cat out root.txt, and there's the password for ActiveBox, and we can cat out default.txt, and I guess that was just some string that they were using when developing it. So that is curling. It took us about an hour and a half. I guess that's probably good. I was hoping to get it done in an hour. But there was some trouble with that brute forcing for a second, I guess. But I wanted to go slow to kind of talk through it. So the password hash isn't plumosec. So that hash word pass isn't always stored in etc password. Actually, it's never stored in etc password. It's always stored in the etc shadow. So it's a kind of a weird naming convention. I think it used to be that passwords were stored in password. But now it's in this protected shadow file, and password's what they use for users. So if we actually cat out the shadow file, we'll see, at the top we have username, so like root, : here we have the hash, : this code here represents the type of hash it is, and some other information about it. So I think the salt too. Maybe that's the salt. No, that's not the salt. Yeah. Oh, you know what? No, it's here. So $6 $. This is the sixth type of password hash. Here is the salt between the next $signs, and the rest of it is the password hash, down to the next colon. So yeah, that's the storing convention for passwords in Linux. It's as long as your password's secure. Even if people get their hands on these hashes, usually they can't brute force them. But of course, even a salted password can be broken fairly easily. A salted password that's literally the string password can be brute forced, easily by dictionary attacks. So there's different degrees of safe passwords. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, so here's Floris's. I think the sixth type. So if we type in Linux password hash types, Yeah, so 1 is MD5, 2A is Blowfish, 6 is SHA 512. So this is a 512-bit, very secure SHA. Well, I guess, yeah. So 512 bits of security from the SHA algorithm, which is pretty good. If there is an exclamation mark, there isn't a password. What else? Yeah, cool. So we're going to be doing, the club is going to do a stream. I guess I'm going to be running one of the sessions. We'll have two, one for international students and one for domestic students, where we'll be doing Bandit. It's a series, if I go to it now, War Games, Bandit. It's a series of puzzles called Bandit, where you walk through a series of challenges using basic Linux commands. So if any of this went over your head, or you want more explanation of how some of the command line movement worked, definitely show up to that on Monday at 7, I believe. And if you're international, there's going to be one at 2:30 EDT. I think that aligns well with, I think it's like the morning in India Standard Time. So yeah, definitely check that out if you have a moment. It will also be recorded. Unlike this one. This one wasn't meant to be recorded. This is kind of like a last minute. I kind of wanted to hang out and do something for a little bit. And that's what we did. So, I mean, if there's no more questions, I'm going to end the stream here. I hope everyone has a good night. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you learned anything. I hope it wasn't too confusing. I think we got a letdown. I'm pretty happy with it. But I'll do this again sometime. If you are in the Discord, I'm assuming most of you were in the Discord. If you want more of this, you can give me a shout out. I'd be down to do it pretty much whenever. I have a lot of fun doing stuff like this. I wish so with Hack the Box, there are these retired machines that you're allowed to kind of publicly do and work through challenge or work through the explanation for. But there's also a number of active machines, which are closed puzzles, which are kind of secret. You're not allowed to kind of talk about them, and the point system is based on the integrity of them being hard to solve. So I can't do any of the fun ones, but I can do, well, I shouldn't say that. There are lots of fun retired ones, but the active ones are fun in that they're open problems that people are currently working on. So like I think, yeah. So this seems to be the most difficult open one now. It's got only about 2,000 solves. Some of the easier ones have 12,000 solves. This one only has 400. So like, I mean, it's fairly tough puzzles. Fun stuff to solve. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thanks again. I will see everybody else in the future, hopefully.